Good evening and welcome. Welcome to Divine Healing Valley Spirituality and Healing Meet. And we are here again on a Wednesday meeting. And the topic for today is in continuation with the last session, suffering, destiny, or choice. So that is the topic we are going to discuss today. So let us have a quick recap of what we did in the last session. So people who participated in the last session and of course who have seen the recording also, let us quickly recap the learnings. So I would not like to do the recap. So you can say what you picked up from the session, from the last session, the learnings. Yes. What all did we discuss in the last session? Anybody who can raise your hand and you can. Yes, Vijayji, go ahead.
I think the main learning from last session, Shashi Dharji, was we looked at pain and suffering and realized that pain is something which happens because of the karmic cycle, and it's unavoidable, especially the first time. And the suffering, which is a lingering thing, is more mental, and it is something that we can overcome and need not necessarily be there. But pain is something which cannot be avoided.
Okay, very good. Let's acknowledge Vijayji. That's a good recap. So pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. So that is one learning which we picked up in the last session. Yes, very good. Anybody else who would like to share his, or her learning? Yes, Parinaji, go ahead.
The magical formula that we got last week, S is equal to P into R. So inherently that has stayed with me the whole of the week. And, automatically it comes to the fore. So I think that's a big takeaway for me, that magical, that suffering is equal to pain into resistance. So if you can't decide on the pain, you can decide on the suffering that you want to go through. So that is something that you can always turn around. So that's the magical formula.
Very good. Let's acknowledge Parinaji, and that's really a magical formula because I picked it up. So I don't even know where I picked it up, but it has remained with me for last 5 to 10 years, right? So, and I've not even noted it down somewhere. It's just ingrained into my cellular memory now. So whenever it is required, it just pops up. Like a pop-up window, it just opens up and it tells me, oh, this is it. Don't resist, kind of a thing. Very good. And for the sake of guests who have not attended the last session, let me tell you this magical formula is a connection between the pain and the suffering. So suffering is equal to pain into resistance. Yes, suffering we all know, and pain we all know. So pain is karmic, which is inevitable, and suffering is optional, which is a choice. So that is what we picked up in the last session. And of course, resistance is whatever you resist will persist in life. And whatever you accept, you will cause disappearance of that aspect of behavior from the other person. So the person, in fact, I was talking to one of my friends and he said, if I am resisting my boss and if I drop the resistance, so will my boss vanish? Boss is not going to vanish, but the behavior which you are resisting of that person, that behavior will vanish. So the person will appear new to you. You need to get the connection right, huh? लोगों को गायब नहीं करना है, लोगों के उस बिहेवियर को गायब करना है जो आपको परेशान कर रहा है. And if you say he should not shout at me, he should not shout at me, he will continue to shout. क्यों? क्योंकि आप उसके शाउटिंग को रेजिस्ट कर रहे हो. ठीक है ना? तो जैसे ही आप बोलोगे हाँ वो बॉस है और वो शाउट करेगा, so you accepted the way he is and the way he is not. Guess what? Slowly he will start shouting less and slowly he will stop. क्योंकि आपकी रेजिस्टेंस की वजह से उसका वही बिहेवियर आ रहा है. That is exact meaning of what you resist persists, and what you accept, you will cause that to disappear. Yes, I hope everybody clear on this. So that explains the formula S is equal to P into R. Very good. Let's acknowledge Parinaji. Yes. Anybody else who would like to share? Or क्या learning थी? Anybody who has attended the session should share. Simi ji, Anshu ji, yes, welcome. You can switch on your video and even otherwise you can share. That's not a problem. Namaskar, Pushpa ji. Yes. Who else would like to share? Vijay ji or Parina ji ने share कर दिया है. Anything that you picked up besides this suffering or pain, anything that opened up. Rupa is not here today, so let me pick up her case. If some patterns are repeating in your life, it could be failure, it could be rejection, it could be meeting wrong people in your life again and again and again. It could be in a serious relationship, or it could be just like you have a pattern of lying, of cheating, or some kind of addictions. All these are patterns. What do you think? Pattern is karmic or is it a suffering? किस कैटेगरी में लगाओगे इसको? अगर कोई पैटर्न आपको परेशान कर रहा है बार 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 बार, and that's what Rupa was saying actually. The behavior of the boss is again and again and again repeating the same. So is it a pattern? So if it is a pattern, is it karmic or is it, is it a pain or is it a suffering? What would you say?
सर आई थिंक एक्सेप्टेंस नहीं हो रहा है इसलिए बार बार लर्निंग आ रही है सामने.
हाँ, पर वो है क्या? अगर कोई पैटर्न है तो क्या है?
तो पैटर्न है तो मतलब सफरिंग हो रहा है बिकॉज यू आर नॉट टेकिंग द लर्निंग. रेजिस्टेंस चालू.
So anything that you can see as getting repetitive in your life, that is suffering. You need to be very, very clear on this. चाहे वो बीमारी रिपीट रिलैप्स हो रही है, दोबारा से वही बीमारी आ रही है, चाहे हार्ट अटैक हुआ, दोबारा ऑपरेशन कराया, स्टेंट्स डाले, फिर दोबारा हार्ट अटैक हो रहा है. इट इज अ पैटर्न. You have not broken the pattern. Correct? So it could be a disease, it could be an addiction, could be cigarettes or could be alcohol or could be drugs, whatever. Or it could be violent fits of anger. आपका एंगर का एक पैटर्न बन गया एंड यू आर सफरिंग एंड यू से मैं तो ऐसे ही हूँ. आप ऐसे नहीं हो, आपका सफरिंग का पैटर्न ऐसा हो गया है. So we have to look at suffering not something as very, very distant from us. It is very close to us and so close that we don't understand. How many of you are seeing that in a new way? आपके कुछ पैटर्न्स हैं जो आपको परेशान कर रहे हैं. पहली बार जब हुआ, it was karmic. But since you didn't pick up the learning, it is repeating again and again and again, and so it is becoming suffering. And then you are resigned about it and you say, मैं तो ऐसा ही हूँ, या वो तो ऐसा ही है. You get resigned about people. Resignation and cynicism is something which is so deep rooted that you think you are accepted. Acceptance nahi hai. Resignation and cynicism is not acceptance. It is totally negative and completely messed up. It is the line of suffering. Yes? Making sense? Or somebody wants a discussion on this? No? Okay. So let's have some people share. What else is opening up? अपने patterns देखिए life में. अगर कोई पैटर्न रिपीट हो रहा है और आपको परेशान कर रहा है, वो कार्मिक पेन नहीं है, वो सफरिंग के लेवल पे आ चुका है.
I can share this very well because
Yes, Simi ji, go ahead.
I have also identified 2-3 patterns which are really troubling me right from the beginning. काफी मेरी शादी के बाद से मेरी कोई भी ट्रैवल बिना कैंसलेशन के नहीं होती, चाहे वो ट्रेन हो, चाहे मेरी वो फ्लाइट हो. मेरे इतने पैसे मेरे रेलवेज को दे चुकी हूँ. पहले बुकिंग करती हूँ, फिर कैंसिल होती है, फिर नई बुकिंग करती हूँ, फिर ट्रैवल करती हूँ. सो दिस इज वन थिंग. सेकेंड, मेरी कोई भी परचेज बिना रिटर्न के कंप्लीट नहीं होती. सो ऐसा होता ही होता है कि मैं कोई चीज सोच समझ के परचेज करने जा रही हूँ, बट वो फिर मुझे वापस करनी पड़ती है या उसमें कुछ प्रॉब्लम होती है, एक्सचेंज रिटर्न कुछ ना कुछ. और तीसरा पैटर्न ये है कि मैं किसी से भी मिलती हूँ, सपोज नाउ आई एम ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड सम गुड रिलेशनशिप्स, पीपल जस्ट वैनिश. इतने अच्छे से वो बातचीत शुरू करते हैं, इतना अच्छा लगता है उनसे मिलके, उनको मुझे मिलके अच्छा लगता है, बट आफ्टर सम टाइम दे जस्ट डिसअपियर. क्या रीजन है, क्यों है, कुछ नहीं. देन टोटल कम्युनिकेशन ब्लॉकआउट. आई एम सो वरीड एंड फ्रस्ट्रेटेड कि ये क्यों हो रहा है मेरे साथ में. ऐसे पैटर्न्स को मैं ब्रेक कैसे करूं?
Okay, Simi ji, so I have understood what you're trying to say. Okay, so I will not answer that. It is for you to introspect. Be in the session, introspect more, and you will come to the root cause. Because pattern आपका है, क्यों हो रहा है, आपको ही ढूंढना पड़ेगा. Okay, I can throw you some points here and there. You pick it up and then work on it. Right.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
the thing that comes to my mind right away is see, at any point of time, whatever is happening in your life. In fact, I just picked it up from Sadhguru's video today. जो भी आपकी लाइफ में हो रहा है, जो कुछ भी हो रहा है, it could be a loss of job, it could be loss in business, it could be a breakup in the relationships, it could be some health problem, it could be a divorce, it could be a total massive fight with the partner. कुछ भी अगर आपकी लाइफ में हो रहा है, at any point of time, you are always in the plus. When you were born, you didn't have anything. You cannot be minus from where you started. आपकी लाइफ जर्नी जो शुरू हुई इस जन्म में, जीरो से शुरू हुई है, आप कभी भी नेगेटिव में नहीं होंगे. Whatever is happening in your life, you will always be in positive only. So what are you crying for? What are you suffering for? आपकी लाइफ में जो कुछ भी हो रहा है, आप कभी भी नेगेटिव में नहीं हैं और कुछ भी यहाँ से लेके नहीं जाएंगे. ये भी हमको मालूम है. क्या लेके आए थे? कुछ नहीं. ऑफकोर्स कर्म लेके आए थे और संस्कार लेके आए थे, और नए कर्म और नए संस्कार लेके जाओगे. इसके अलावा मटेरियलिस्टिकली तो आपको कुछ भी नहीं मिलने वाला जो आप लेके जाओगे. करेक्ट. वर्ल्डली पोजेशंस में तो कुछ भी नहीं लेके जाओगे. ना कोई बाहर की वस्तु, ना कोई व्यक्ति, ना कोई रिश्ता, कुछ भी लेके नहीं जाओगे. ऑफकोर्स पैसा भी नहीं. तो एट एनी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम व्हाटएवर हैज हैपेंड इन योर लाइफ, सिमी जी, ये देखिए कि आप हमेशा प्लस में ही हैं. तो दुखी होके, परेशान होके जिंदगी बिताने से आप अपने ही दुश्मन बन चुके हैं. दैट इज व्हाई दीज पैटर्न्स ऑफ सफरिंग एंड मिजरी इज कमिंग टू यू. छोटे छोटे पैटर्न्स तोड़ना तो you just have to, maybe it is a case of a belief system, है ना. तो कुछ चीज़ों में आपको उतना पेन नहीं हो रहा है या उतनी सफरिंग नहीं हो रही है, सामान वापस कर रहे हैं, कुछ कर रहे हैं, तो वो आपको इंट्रोस्पेक्ट करना है कि क्या क्या है. ट्रस्ट फैक्टर मिसिंग है, क्या मिसिंग है. मे बी एक बिलीफ सिस्टम होगा. करेक्ट. बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू रिलेशनशिप, then you need little more introspection. So think in that line. Think in that line. Because if you're suffering and miserable in life, then you are your worst enemy. आप अपने ही सबसे बड़े दुश्मन बन चुके हो. That is why you are suffering. So be your best friend. Be mild with yourself. आप बहुत हार्श हैं अपने साथ. इतना हार्श मत होइए. इंसान हो, गलतियां हो जाती हैं, कोई बात नहीं. अपने आप को माफ करो, अपने आप को एक्सेप्ट करो और आगे बढ़ो. Right? So I've thrown some points. See what helps you to bounce back. Let's acknowledge Simi ji. Yes.
But is it
Okay.
that sometimes sorry to disturb, ये ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि कभी मेरे साथ ट्रेन टिकट गलत बनी हो, उसके बाद ये चीजें फॉलो होने लग गई, ऐसा होगा? Is it related to that event?
Could be
Or it
that.
can be
See,
any event.
first time it is karmic, as I told you. First time it is karmic. After that you said, I'm stupid. Every time I buy, I will have to return it. Every time I book a ticket, I have to cancel it. Now it has become a belief system. So every time it is happening. So simply say, it is not going to happen now. That's it.
Okay.
And go ahead and do it. Action कर लो. उसमें बहुत ज्यादा नुकसान वैसे भी नहीं हो रहा है. ठीक है, रेलवे को थोड़ा पैसा ज्यादा जा रहा है. इससे ज्यादा नुकसान नहीं हो रहा है ना. जिंदगी और मौत का सवाल नहीं है. असली सफरिंग और मिजरी में जिंदगी और मौत का सवाल होगा. So look at it that way. This is a very minor one. Take a major one. Now people leaving you in relationship, that could be a major one.
That could be, yes.
So there is a pattern of failure. There is a pattern of rejection. Understand that pattern and then break it. तो अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए आपको राइट अंडरस्टैंडिंग लेने के लिए थोड़ी सी इंट्रोस्पेक्शन ज़्यादा करनी है. लुक इनटू दैट, एंड ऑफ कोर्स वी आर देयर इन द अदर प्रोग्राम आल्सो, सो वी विल वर्क ऑन दैट. यस. ओके, लेट्स एक्नॉलेज Simi ji. Yes. Yes, Vijay ji, you wanted to share something? Please go ahead.
मैं बस यही कहने वाला था कि एक तो स्टेइंग इन ग्रेटिट्यूड डज हेल्प. दूसरा, रिलेशनशिप पर्सपेक्टिव से, इफ यू जॉइन अ सत्संग like the soul family, like every Wednesday and other sessions, that will help in relationships.
That will help in your spiritual journey. Let's put it that way. आप साधना करते हो, आप सेवा करते हो, आप सत्संग करते हो, ये फिर आपकी स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी को आगे बढ़ाएगा. And that indirectly will help you in all areas of life. Could be health, could be wealth, could be relationship, could be whatever. Yes. That वो तो अंडरस्टूड है सर. स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी के लिए आगे बढ़ना है तो उसमें तो पूरी लाइफ ही आगे बढ़ेगी आप. Understood. That point is taken. Well accepted. Let's acknowledge Vijay ji. Okay. let's have more people share. What is opening up? Geeta ji, if you have seen the recording of the last session, and if you want to share something, Priya ji, Mani ji,
हेलो
Anshu ji.
सर,
Yes. You want to
कैसे
share
हैं?
something?
मैं ये शेयर करना चाहती हूँ। बहुत लंबे टाइम के बाद मैं फिर से जुड़ी हूँ।
आप पूरा नाम बताइए. आई एम नॉट एबल टू कनेक्ट विथ यू.
प्रिया, मैं पहले जुड़ती थी काफी टाइम पहले। मैंने हीलिंग भी कराई थी आपसे, आपको शायद याद होगा।
ओके.
गुंजन के थ्रू मैं आई थी।
अच्छा. ओके. Okay. Okay. Fine. That's
मैंने
fine. That's okay.
हाँ,
That's fine. I'm not able to connect with you right now. That's fine. But you can go ahead. हाँ जी, बोलिए.
मैंने जो भी मतलब यहाँ से सेशंस लिए थे उसमें एक चीज जो बहुत ही अच्छे से आपने भी समझाई थी और गुंजन मैम ने भी बोला था, वो था कि आप सरेंडर कर दो गॉड के सामने। तो एक तो वो चीज बहुत मतलब कहते हैं ना जिसको कि बहुत आपको लाभ पहुंचाती है एक्चुअली रूट लेवल पे। तो वो मुझे उससे बहुत मतलब रिलीफ मिला है एक्चुअल में, क्योंकि एक तो लड़ाई हम खुद से लड़ते रहते हैं हमेशा कि नहीं मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों, या मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है, कुछ ना कुछ गड़बड़ है। वो चीज हम एकदम दिमाग से निकलनी शुरू हो जाती है। जैसे मैम ने अभी बोला कि ऐसा मेरे साथ ही क्यों होता है या बार बार होता है। तो एक तो हम सरेंडर कर देते हैं, आधी प्रॉब्लम वहां से हट जाती है। और दूसरी चीज जो एक थी कि आपने एक्सेप्टेंस और वो सारी चीजें उस टाइम बताई थी जैसे सेशंस में, तब मुझे ये चीज सच में लगा कि हाँ एक पैटर्न आपका होता है, बिहेवियर पैटर्न भी होता है कि आप बार बार वही करते हैं, या तो गलत लोगों पर विश्वास करना, या फिर मतलब फ्रेंडशिप में कुछ ज्यादा ही भरोसा कर लेना, एक्सपेक्टेशंस बहुत ज्यादा हाई कर लेना, वो आप हर रिलेशनशिप में कर रहे होते हैं। फिर आपको बराबर उसी तरीके से बार बार कम या ज्यादा धोखे मिल रहे होते हैं या दर्द मिल रहा होता है। तो हम सोचते हैं कि नहीं ये मेरी साथ ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है। उसमें अगर जरा सा चेंज हम लाते हैं तो एकदम चीजें बदलती हुई खुद ही दिखने लगती हैं। एक
Okay.
सरेंडर कि हम मान लें उस चीज को कि नहीं ये कुछ है तो ये ईश्वर कर रहे हैं, वो जो कर रहे हैं वो अच्छा ही कर रहे होंगे, कि मैं सरेंडर हूँ बिल्कुल इनके सामने। और
Okay.
दूसरा थोड़ा सा हम ध्यान देते हैं कि नहीं मुझे अगर फ्रेंडशिप रखनी है बहुत प्यार से बात करनी है, लेकिन इतना ट्रस्ट नहीं करना, ये व्यक्ति मेरा कभी भी दिल तोड़ सकता है, चाहे लड़की है चाहे बहन है चाहे माँ है चाहे कोई भी है। तो उसके लिए भी मैं रेडी हूँ। और ये सब सोच के जब हम चलते हैं तो मैंने देखा इतने टाइम के बाद, मतलब मैं जुड़ी जब मेरे आप शायद मुझे महीने हो गए होंगे, कि मेरे रिलेशनशिप सच में चल रहे हैं वो, और उनमें इतनी प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं आ रही हैं कि मतलब एकदम से वो जो टूटते थे फ्रेंड से भी झगड़े होने लग जाते थे। तो ऐसा नहीं है, क्योंकि शायद मैं बहुत सी बातें उनकी एक्सेप्ट कर लेती हूँ, उनका बिहेवियर एक्सेप्ट कर लेती हूँ, और एक्सपेक्टेशंस मेरी बहुत कम है उनसे। तो वो मैंने चेंज किया है अपने बिहेवियर में, तो वो
Okay.
पैटर्न शायद वहां टूटा कि
Okay.
वो जो एक
Got it.
पैटर्न हम बोल रहे हैं
बढ़िया.
उसके
बढ़िया
बाद।
Priya ji. Let's acknowledge Priya. Very good. So if you have got some breakthroughs in life, obviously you have identified your patterns, and with acceptance and surrender to the divine, obviously you have made some great breakthroughs. Wonderful. Very good. बहुत बढ़िया. Right. Anybody else who would like to share? What is opening up? We are talking of pain and suffering in your life, in the area of health, wealth, relationships, कहीं भी. पैटर्न क्या है? कोई आपका फेलियर का पैटर्न है, कोई रिजेक्शन का पैटर्न है, कोई एंगर का पैटर्न है, कोई एडिक्शंस का पैटर्न है. सो वी आर लुकिंग इनटू दैट पैटर्न. अगर कोई पैटर्न है तो फर्स्ट टाइम इट हैपन it was karmic, but if it is repeating again and again and again, so you have not learned the lesson from that event, so it is repeating again and again, causing you suffering and misery in life. Is that okay with everybody? Understanding is clear? Very good. और कोई बोलना चाहेंगे? Advocate Mitra ji, welcome. Aman K, welcome. Yes. Jyoti ji, welcome. Rajiv, welcome. Yes. Anybody else who would like to share? Okay. So I will take that discussion now to Sanjeev. Sanjeev, over to you for our discussion, which we were doing in the last session, and you wanted to build up something on that and give some explanation. Over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Shashi. And thank you, everyone. And some of us have joined today. They are new. So I would request Parina if she remembers what was her point so that it can be repeated for everyone and then I can build on that. Yeah.
Sure, Sanjeev ji. So, we were actually discussing, we had started talking about our workplace traumas and difficulties that, many of us were facing. So, in that, I had shared an incident from my previous office place, which was like that, no matter how much I made alterations in my behavior, I brought about changes in how to approach certain situations with my manager and stuff, there was no change in the behavior from the other end. And at one point in time, it actually felt that everything was falling on deaf ears. So after waiting my time and trying whatever I could, so I found that the best way out of that situation should be to exit gracefully. And that's what I did. That I put in my papers because I wanted to. It was like buying peace for myself. So that is what I did. And that is when I remember when I had talked about this. That's when you said that I don't quite agree with it, but it's going to take one full session. So we take it to the next one. So I think now it's over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think very well, let's give a round of applause to Parina for repeating everything for everyone who were present or not present last time so that you can understand what we are talking. So last time's discussion was that whatever you resist, it persists. And that's where, Parina, you shared that it was not changing anything from the other end and you left the job. And when you gave this example, you were seconded by two people more. Swati is not here. She actually agreed with you. And that's where I wanted to bring something into the awareness. Your point is very valid. When you resist, it persists. And if something is not changing at the other end, one of the ways to change your own side. So now I would like to highlight two things where I had a small disconnect. It was not that you were wrong, a small disconnect. One, not everyone should understand and get this point that once you change your partnership can be a job partnership, business partnership, or a life partnership, any partnership. It's not necessary that you will get another partner who is again good in nature. Why? Because this is where I wanted to especially highlight. If the other partner is not changing, something needs a little more introspection. Why is the other person not changing? And that can be the inner resistance. I'll give you an example. One of the housewife, I'm talking about a homemaker lady. She was very much into a mode of pleasing everybody. And while she was trying to please everybody, she actually got a lot of backfire from other people, no appreciation, more burden and all sort of thing. But she was trying to do something, okay, let me change. And she was trying to still please everyone. And the other persons were not changing so much. And the interesting game is it's not like a job ki husband nahi kar raha, chhod ke dusra husband pakad lo. Right? So what we found was she was changing herself, but still she was resisting within. So change was, जो हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, दिखावे के लिए, बाहरी रूप से तो change हो रहे हैं, internal there was no change. And that's where my first disconnect was that when you change, that's a possibility, but probably you may attract similar thing from the other side into the second partnership also. So that it worked for you, probably you transformed internally and externally, it was good for you. But sometimes it may not work for you. That's what I wanted to share, point number one. Point number two, as we were talking last time, suffering and pain, why are we considering it as a suffering? My question was this. This is an introspection. Why we at all are thinking that to be a suffering? I'll give you my life example related to my boss in one of the job. I had a boss who was like pain at the right place. Let me be very open. Okay. And he was to an extent कि किसी भी तरह से नहीं मान रहा था, खुश करके नहीं मान रहा था, जॉब मिल नहीं रही थी दूसरी, तो मैंने थोड़ा सा, उस समय मेरे को ये फिलॉसफी नहीं आती थी, बट समहाउ मेरे को किसी ने कुछ एक सलाह दी और मैं ऑफिस में बड़ा खुश रहने लगा। वो चिल्ला रहा है तो भी मैं मुस्कुरा रहा हूँ। ना आई एम गिविंग एग्जाम्पल। और धीरे धीरे शुरू की मुस्कुराहट मेरी बनावटी थी, इट वॉज अ फेक, बट स्लोली इट गॉट नेचुरल। आई स्टार्टेड एंजॉइंग, एंड जितना मैंने मुस्कुराना शुरू करा उसको लगने लगा ऐसे तो फर्क ही नहीं पड़ रहा है। उसने चिल्लाना कम कर दिया, एंड बिलीव मी, टुडे वी बोथ शेयर वेरी हेल्दी रिलेशनशिप। We both share, and I being a coach, he calls me sometimes and says, Sanjeev, I need some coaching from you. He was my boss. So that's what I wanted to share. Parina, you were absolutely right that I didn't disagree with you, but where I wanted to highlight everyone, it should not be taken as a mandate कि change करने से ठीक हो जाएगा. Just be careful. That's what I wanted to share. Is that
Very
okay,
good.
Parina? You?
Yes, thank you so much, Sanjeev ji. I agree with your point. And when I was contemplating leaving the organization at that point in time, I had taken this into consideration that, quitting one bad boss is no guarantee that the next boss is going to be angelic. You might get a bigger demon than what you think your current one is, for all you know. So, and that's how it is, you never know what's going to come. It's like a box of chocolates. कौन सा flavor निकलेगा नहीं पता. So, but the point is just that probably I think I took my lessons. They were painful, they were
Yeah,
hard, and it was like a punch in the gut. But I took my lessons. I sat with them for a long time. I did not work for some months after that. So I took all of that in, I processed it, and then thoughtfully I moved forward. So I think
that's
probably that worked.
actually that worked because your energy shifted and that worked for you.
Very
Yeah.
good.
So,
Let's acknowledge Sanjeev and Parina ji.
But
thank you.
thank you, Sanjeev ji, for this insight.
Thank you very much. I have a quote to share, but I will share in the end. Let the session continue regarding this. I'll share it in the end.
Okay, great. So for just to do a quick, you can say summarization of what we have discussed so far. See, basically, what is important here is to learn the karmic lesson, and ultimately, when you are, even if you're parting, maybe an organization or maybe with a person, the energy or the emotion that you are sharing with them should be of the nature of love, peace, and joy. That is when a relationship gets healed and when the karmic lesson is complete. अगर आप गुस्से में उनको गालियां दे के जा रहे हो, लड़ झगड़ के, तो कार्मिक लेसन ना आपने सीखा है और ना ही वो रिलेशनशिप कंप्लीट हुआ है. तो वो फिर मिलेंगे वाली बात होगी. अगले जन्म में फिर मिलेंगे तो लड़ाई झगड़े से ही शुरू होगा. सो दैट इज नॉट द राइट वे टू लर्न द कार्मिक लेसन और टू एंड एन रिलेशनशिप, चाहे वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हो, चाहे वो बॉस हो. बिकॉज आई रिमेंबर ए केस, I will not name the organization, but their junior actually got so fed up and so frustrated. He got hold of the boss in the office premises, in the office timing, and gave him 3-4 right slaps, across his face. And then he took the wrote a resignation, threw it on his face, and he walked away. Now, इस तरीके का अगर कोई बिहेवियर आ रहा है और वो जॉब छोड़ के जा रहा है, and then finally he left for another organization, but that way it is not a completion नहीं हुआ है. ये तो बिल्कुल एकदम जैसे तोड़ के चले गए, तो वो कार्मिक लर्निंग लिया भी नहीं है और ये पैटर्न दोबारा आएगा. So he might get into a bigger problem than this in the next organization or the next person. So that is what is the bitter learning of this kind of incidences. इसीलिए एनर्जी जो है लव पीस एंड जॉय की होनी चाहिए whenever you part an organization or a person, so that when you are going to the next person there is no baggage. You are absolutely free, and then you are ready to go into the upward spiral of your spiritual growth and create magical results in your life. So these are some of the things that we need to keep in mind when we are talking of the karmic lesson and the spiritual growth. Yes. Okay, so that concludes our pending discussion. So let's acknowledge Sanjeev and Parina ji. Okay, anybody else who would like to share? So people who have come here for the, maybe after watching the last session's recording. So Parveen ji, Geeta ji, anything you want to share? So we can take it up in the discussion. Whatever your views are on pain and suffering, we are talking of Buddha's teaching, we are talking of suffering and pain, and we are looking at patterns which cause suffering in our life. Yes, कौन बोलना चाहेंगे?
So, okay, I'll speak.
Yeah.
All right. So when I think of pain or suffering, or see, that is when I'm viewing something as a problem and I'm not able to handle it. That is when either the pain comes, and if I don't accept that this is part of my karma, then maybe that resistance to that thing, then I start getting into a suffering mode. Otherwise, if I know this, generally I believe that this shall also pass. Everything passes and everything is temporary. Your happiness, your sorrow, everything is temporary. Now, the moment I start think of something as a problem, so then it appears my mindset changes and I start thinking of it as a problem. Otherwise, I would think of it as a situation which is here for a time being. I need to understand and learn my lessons and become a better human being and let it pass on. So it's not always that I keep on blaming, as Parina said, the boss or someone. There will definitely be people who are not according to going to behave the way I want them to behave. So it's perfectly normal. They are behaving what they think is right. Why should I spoil my karma because of that? And that's also temporary. So as Sanjeev was saying, I started laughing. So I also had a similar experience. When you don't react and you respond, then you have time to think and you don't don't shut the door on the face in such a way that you can't open it. So that's what I feel it's all in the head. And whether you take it as, suffering and all that, or you learn and you move on. And I think the safest thing is, एक बच्चा गिरता है, वो उठता है, फिर चलता है, फिर गिरता है, थोड़ी देर बाद मम्मी पापा भी उसको गिरने देते हैं so that he learns. अगर हम बहुत ज्यादा प्रोटेक्टिव एनवायरनमेंट में रहेंगे तो ये प्रॉब्लम्स ज्यादा आती हैं because people are not equipped with life skills and they don't know how to handle the lows in life. So तब उनको ज्यादा suffering बढ़ जाती है, is what I feel. So it's,
Got it.
I think, all basically your understanding of the situation. That's what
Got
I
it.
think.
Very good, Geeta ji. So good understanding. So let's
Thank you,
acknowledge
sir.
Geeta ji for sharing. All right, anybody else who wants to talk on what is your understanding of suffering and misery? Anybody else who want to share?
Can I just ask Shashi ji?
हाँ जी.
जैसे गीता just shared कि we have to accept the situation, but accepting and walking away, will we face it again, or it's finished?
That's what I said.
How
If you are
can we-
taking a
how
karmic
can-
lesson, अगर आप karmic lesson ले चुके हो उसमें से, तो फिर वो ना pain में आएगा ना suffering में आएगा. Situation will change.
So it has to be an understanding. Okay, I have
Yeah.
taken a lesson from this.
Yes, the right understanding will give you the karmic lesson in that. Maybe you need to forgive, maybe you need to thank. So these are the learnings that you pick up from an incident. कोई भी आपकी लाइफ में क्यों आ रहा है? अगर मैं आपसे ये पूछूं, हमारे हर रिलेशनशिप का एक पर्पस होता है. पर्पस क्या है रिलेशनशिप का? Because every person in my life is coming either to contribute to me or to be contributed. Ultimately, we want spiritual growth for mutual respect and spiritual growth for both of us. ये है एक रिलेशनशिप का पर्पस. अगर ये पर्पस पूरा हो गया है तो कार्मिक लेसन पूरी है, फिर आप मूव ऑन कर सकते हैं. बट अगर एनर्जी लव पीस एंड जॉय की नहीं है, एंगर की है, रिसेंटमेंट की है, रिग्रेट की है, ब्लेम है, तो फिर वो कार्मिक लेसन सीखा नहीं है और ना वो रिलेशनशिप हील हुई है. तो वो दोबारा मिलेंगे और रिपीट होगा. और या वही लोग जब मिलेंगे दोबारा तो काफी यू कैन से एंटागोनिज्म के साथ और नेगेटिव एनर्जी के साथ मिलेंगे. तो वो रिलेशनशिप हील नहीं हुई है, तो कार्मिक लेसन सीखा ही नहीं है. तो वो थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखना जरूरी. तो एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन भी छोड़ रहे हैं तो बिल्कुल पूरे सबके साथ सबको थैंक करके और पूरा जैसे फेयरवेल होता है, पूरे फेयरवेल के साथ जाइए. देन योर एनर्जी इज कंप्लीटेड, देन यू आर रेडी फॉर द नेक्स्ट जॉब और फॉर द नेक्स्ट रिलेशनशिप. पूरा कंप्लीट करने के बाद जब जाते हैं तो बैकलॉग नहीं रहता है. One chapter is complete. It's like you have finished writing one book. Now you're opening a new chapter of a new book, like that. Yes. Very good, Purvin ji. That's acknowledged. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Otherwise, we will go for a new learning.
I just like to add one thing. See, I worked with an organization and Parina has been a student of mine. So it was 28 years that I worked at that school. And as far as and as long as Chairman Sir was alive, I was given due respect and due freedom to do things which were in the interest of the children in terms of education. Now, what had happened was Chairman Sir became unwell and his daughter took charge. Now, when she took charge, she started making it very difficult for me. So initially, I was very upset about it because this is not what I expected from her. I had never expected, I've never even asked for a raise, but this had happened. So it took me a lot of time. In fact, I have forgiven her. I said it's okay. Maybe she had other reasons to behave the way she did. But, from that side, the moment they say, Geeta Nath ko bula lo as a guest or something, immediately there's a reluctance or rejection there. Nahi, usko nahi bulana hai. Not that I have contributed immensely to the school and the growth, but this is what happens. So when you hear such things, it pains. It does pain that, after all these 28 years, this is how someone is treating you. Whereas I don't blame them. Maybe I've done a very good thing that I closed that door and lot many other doors have opened for me and I've learned my lessons and that's it. I'm moving on. But that other side is not, prepared to. And that lady reads Vedantas and Bhagavad Gita and everything. Superficially, she's so spiritually inclined and this is how she behaves. So it does at times cause a pain that, if not too much of recognition, at least acceptance of what I've done is what I was thinking.
Okay.
I tell
Okay, good. Gitaji, I got that. But consider this, God wanted you to move out of that place.
Yeah.
And he placed that lady there so that she could tell you it is time to move on. You are not
Yes.
you are not getting that message. So she behaved in a rude way. You should thank her for that.
Yeah, that's what I started doing. Because she closed that
Consider
door
it a
and hard
different
on
way.
both.
Consider
Yes,
this in a
yes,
different way. God wanted you to move out. You were not going out, so you had to be pushed. अब गॉड कैसे पुश करेगा, किसी के थ्रू पुश करेगा ना, तो उसने उस लेडी को बोला जा पुश कर उसको बाहर भेज. Correct? So understand it that
Yeah.
whatever is happening for the good.
Absolutely.
That is when you learn the karmic lesson. So how many of us know how to thank our enemies? That's a big karmic lesson, by the way.
I do.
Because there is no enemy, there is no friend. There are only souls who are contributing to you. अगर आप सही ढंग से मान जाओगे तो फ्रेंड बन के समझा देंगे. अगर फ्रेंड की बात नहीं समझ रहे हो तो भगवान किसी एनिमी को भेज देगा वहां, ताकि तुमको वहां से कार्मिक लेसन सीख के तुमको वहां से निकाले. तो you have to understand everything is planned at the divine level. Align with them. It is absolutely easy then. तो कहीं पे resist नहीं करना, जो हो रहा है होने दो. Having said that, take care of yourself. Self-preservation is the first step for self-realization. I always say that. So take care of yourself. Self-love is important. Self-preservation is important. Otherwise, you will never reach self-realization. Correct? So that point is separate. But yes, having said this, whatever is happening is happening for the good. Move on. That's all. Very good, Geeta ji. Great understanding. Yes, Sanjeev, you wanted to share something. Go ahead.
So, what we have been discussing about Buddha's teaching, let's understand why all this pain and suffering is coming and why there's a confusion, all this thing. So just simple thing, we have to understand the biggest enemy. Who is the biggest enemy for the pain or suffering? And Buddha says it's nothing else but our own mind. Our own mind is the biggest enemy, nobody else. Why? Like Geeta ji just shared, and a lot of us share, कि हम तो सब कर रहे हैं लेकिन सामने वाला नहीं समझ रहा है. It is not about सामने वाला, उसका माइंड उसके साथ खेल रहा है, हमारा माइंड हमारे साथ खेलता है. और खेलता क्या है? The game is very clear. वो खेलता है क्या है? वो खेलता है कि आपके पास्ट और फ्यूचर के बीच में जंप करता रहता है लाइक मंकी.
राइट.
वो प्रेजेंट में रहने नहीं देता है. या तो पास्ट की कोई बात आपको बुलाएगी, लाइक गीता जी सेड कि मैंने इतना करा उसकी कोई वैल्यू नहीं है. नहीं, इट इज बिकॉज पास्ट वाज पास्ट एंड प्रेजेंट इज प्रेजेंट, एंड दैट्स व्हाई प्रेजेंट को ऑल्टरनेट वर्ड होता है गिफ्ट, एंड फ्यूचर इज फ्यूचर. बट लॉट ऑफ टाइम पास्ट का एक्सपीरियंस फ्यूचर में जाके बैठ जाता है, विच बिकम्स अ फियर.
Yes.
And that is where our own mind, and Parina, as I shared it, I may take hours to talk on this subject. Okay. I am trying to control myself. It takes hours of understanding and very clarity कि कोई और कुछ नहीं कर रहा है, हमारा माइंड पास्ट के ईगो से या फ्यूचर के डर से इन दो जगह उछल रहा है, वो प्रेजेंट में एक पल भी नहीं रुकने देता, और वो जो एक पल भी प्रेजेंट में नहीं रुकने देता, वहां प्रॉब्लम आती है. And this is where Buddha's teaching, Shashi is talking since last 3 sessions, I'll say. Okay. And I would like to read this line about the mind, which I have a book with me. Why do we suffer in life? Do you know? Why do our stress and anxiety grow? Because our mind jumps from the past to the future, and from future to the past. The joy that is our does not last. And the joy is only in the present. Joy is never in the future, not from the past. So we have to understand the pain and suffering is nothing else. But if you want to really enjoy, you
Live
have
in
to
the present moment.
art of being in the present. That's very
Absolutely.
important. Thank you very much.
Very good, Sanjeev. That's a wonderful learning. Yes, and to understand it a bit more, you can always consider, that the mind is always oscillating. Oscillation में कैसा होता है, ये पास्ट और फिर वो रुकता नहीं है, वापस आता है तो फ्यूचर, फिर वहां से पास, फ्यूचर से फिर वापस पास में, तो प्रेजेंट में वो टिकता ही नहीं है. दैट इज वाई द होल स्पिरिचुअल साधना इज सो इम्पोर्टेंट. पास्ट और फ्यूचर को एकदम, माइंड को एकदम फ्लक्चुएशन रोक के बिल्कुल माइंड को शांत करने के बाद जब आप मेडिटेशन में बैठते हो, दैट इज व्हेन यू विल बी एबल टू handle or look at your vices and then get rid of your vices. Yes. So when we talk of all the all the vikars, we know all the vikars which are running our life, right? तो माइंड के जो हमारे क्वालिटीज हैं जो हमको डिस्टर्ब कर रहे हैं, तो वो क्या हैं? काम, क्रोध, लोभ, मोह, मद, मत्सर. We all know this, the 6 major poisons. Now consider these are as time bombs. आप ये टाइम बॉम्ब मान के चलिए, हमारे अंदर टाइम बॉम्ब है, ठीक है? अब ये टाइम बॉम्ब फूटने के लिए बिल्कुल तैयार रहते हैं. बाहर से लोग कुछ भी बोलते हैं, दे आर लाइक थ्रोइंग ए मैच स्टिक. उन्होंने तो मैच स्टिक फेंका है. दे हैवंट प्लांटेड एनी बॉम्ब्स इन यू. बॉम्ब्स आपके अंदर ऑलरेडी हैं. सो यू गो बूम 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 एंड देन यू ब्लेम द अदर पर्सन, उसने मेरी जिंदगी बर्बाद कर दी. करेक्ट? Suppose you are doing the spiritual sadhana and you diffuse all the time bombs in your system. ये सारे विकास जो हैं ये डोरमेंट हो गए हैं या फिर ये बिल्कुल ही खत्म हो गए हैं. अब कोई मैचस्टिक डाल भी देगा तो क्या होगा? इमेजिन 2 बिल्डिंग्स, एक बिल्डिंग में टाइम बॉम्ब है, एक बिल्डिंग पूरा खाली है. खाली है मतलब बिल्कुल ही वेकेंट है. दूसरे में पूरे टाइम बॉम्ब भरे पड़े हैं. दोनों में एक एक मैचस्टिक डाल दीजिए, क्या होगा? जो खाली है उसको कुछ नहीं होगा, और जिसमें बॉम्ब है क्या होगा? वो ट्विन टावर बन के नीचे आ जाएगा जल्दी से. करेक्ट? दैट इज व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन लाइफ. आउटसाइड सिचुएशंस आर ओनली ए ट्रिगर. प्रॉब्लम बाहर है ही नहीं, प्रॉब्लम तो हमारे विकार में है जो हमारे अंदर भरे पड़े हैं. हम अंदर देखने को तैयार नहीं है, बाहर पॉइंट आउट करे, उसने मैचेस फेंकी, अब मैं उसको जिंदा नहीं छोड़ूंगा. आपका क्रोध और बढ़ गया, ठीक है? जो आपके विकार थे जिनको डिफ्यूज करना चाहिए था वो और बढ़ गए, टाइम बम और ज्यादा भर लिया आपने. And then somebody else will say something else, and then you will become more selfish, then you will become more greedy. तो आपके विकार हैं जो आपको सफरिंग दे रहे हैं. How many of you can connect with this?
Absolutely.
This is the next level of suffering that we are going to discuss. एक तो सफरिंग हमने डिस्कस कर लिया जो पेन से आ रहा है, बाहर की दुनिया से आ रहा है. दूसरा, बाहर के ट्रिगर से हमारे अंदर जो सिस्टम में हमारे फंसा हुआ है वायरसेस, they are the cause of real suffering. Now look at it. Whatever is happening in the outside situation, it is triggering your sanskars or triggering your vikars. आपके विकार आपके सफरिंग का रीजन है, बाहर की दुनिया में से कोई भी नहीं है. So stop blaming the other people in your life. There are no others. Your inside world is attracting people in the outside world. How many of you can get this? Or is it becoming too heavy?
No.
Everybody can connect with this? So now look at it, because this is the next level of suffering that we are going to look at. Unless we have looked at all kind of suffering, we cannot move into the removal of the suffering part. Action तो बाद में आएगा, पहले समझ तो लें हमारे suffering का असली वजह क्या है. Yes. So what is opening up? Anybody wants to share? इतना सन्नाटा क्यों है भाई? सोचो. What is opening up? Anything that you want to share? What is opening up?
Can I?
Different levels of suffering. Yes. Geeta ji, go ahead.
So basically, it's all in the mind. If you live in the present, there's no suffering in the present. The suffering comes only when we're comparing a very glorious past, or we are very worried about the future. And that is what makes my present uncomfortable. And Sanjeev said that it's a gift. Actually, it's a gift. And if I think of just this moment, as Art of Living people say, in this moment, there's no pain, no suffering, no happiness, nothing. It's just you and pure, simple bliss. So primarily, we are giving a trigger to others to sort of ignite whatever the vices or vikar that we have. अगर हमें विकार नहीं होंगे तो बाहर वाला कुछ भी कर ले असर ही नहीं होगा. So it's like an empty building. So basically अपने में जितनी, अगर if I have a glass full of blue ink, उसमें हम सोचे कि साफ हो जाएगा, होगा नहीं. पर अगर उसमें खूब सारा पानी डालते रहे धीरे से the blue part will go and become clear, crystal clear. So primarily हमें अपने look within ही करना है. दुनिया भर का we can't change. We can't do anything about the world, but yes, I can only work on myself. And वही अपने को जितना भी cleanse कर लोगे तो I think हम लोग का blame game जो होता है ना, उसने मेरे को किया therefore doing this, उसने ऐसे किया तो मैं ऐसे करूंगी, तो that should end. So if that ends, there's no suffering. Because you know that I am responsible for what I'm doing. If I'm not responsible, it's karma. Maybe I've done something in the past and I'm learning from it and move on.
Absolutely great. Wonderful. Great,
Thank
Geeta
you,
ji.
sir. Thank you, sir.
So the whole process of cleansing your chit or cleansing your inner world. Sadhguru says that inner engineering. So how is that possible? That is only possible through spiritual sadhana. So I will not go into the details of what kind of sadhana you need to do. There are different yoga marks and different sadhanas that people are practicing as per their preferences and their calling. So focus on any of these, but ultimate point is that you have to cleanse your inner world. That is when you will be free from your suffering. And that is what Buddha actually did. Yes. So he found out a way to do that, and then he preached that method to others. So that is what the Buddha's teaching is all about. So but first we need to understand before we come to the conclusion कि क्या करना है. First हमको देखना है हमारी suffering की वजह क्या है. अगर मेरी लाइफ में आज सफरिंग है तो कौन से विकार से आ रही है, कौन से रिलेशनशिप में दिख रहा है और उसका जड़ क्या है. Once we see that root, then we can do something about it. Yes. So let's have some people share what is opening up in your life. Look into your life and see where are you suffering and what is the source of that suffering. Then we can do something about it.
Shashi, can I share mine?
Yes, Sanjeev. Go ahead.
Long back, because I have been going to Vipassana on a regular basis. So one of my source of suffering was I realized that I was not valuing myself. And because I was not valuing myself, I wasn't able to value others or situations or circumstances. And that was a moment for me for shifting my source from not valuable being valuable. And moment I found myself being valuable, then actually neither me nor others were invaluable. And that is my biggest learning take from Buddha's learning everywhere, that my sufferings were coming from my own self, whatever word you want to use. So valuation is the biggest thing which I say. And when I start to value myself, I value others, and I can see from that real perspective, whereby I can surrender and even I can accept also. That's what I can see.
Fantastic. Absolutely great. Let's
Thank you.
acknowledge Sanjeev. So that is what actually is introspection. When you say we कौन से विकार हैं, so in his case it was, if you can connect with it, it is mad. Mad is ego. Ego का कोई एक flavor है जो dominant था, and that was not allowing him to value himself. Correct? So that is what is the vikar. So if you handle that, and then the consciousness completely blossoms out, and you are expressing divinity all around. Very good, Sanjeev. Great introspection. Swadhyay, very good. Anybody else who would like to share? You people?
Yeah, so I would also like to share
Yes, Simiji.
when I saw this pain of my mother, so that was, I thought ki these are the sufferings which she has to bear. And she is suffering a lot because of a lot of ailments and because of a lot of issues which she was having. But now understanding that that suffering was my own self-built suffering. She was in pain, which was karmic, which she had to take. But that suffering, even after her death of almost 1.5 to 2 years, I am still not able to come out of that zone. And every moment when I recollect, हाँ इस कमरे में वो ऐसी करती थी, इस मौके पे वो ये बोलती थी, तो that keeps coming time and again. So maybe that suffering, I am not able to release that.
Okay, so let me ask you something, Simiji. Are you concerned about her suffering, or has it become your suffering?
I think it has become my suffering because she is gone now.
Because the soul has already moved on, and it is at the best place. Soul अपनी अगली जर्नी पे जा चुका है already. Soul बहुत अच्छी जगह पे है, right? तो आप उनकी suffering को, maybe she was actually suffering. The pain तो था ही था. Maybe if she is not distinguished it, she must be actually suffering, and you must have seen that suffering, and now you are suffering. Don't do that. उनका suffering खत्म हो गया. Soul has already moved on. So you pray for the soul, pray for the divine blessings, right? And be free from that attachment. And then you stop your own suffering. And then you have to move on in your life. Correct? तो जो होना था हो गया. Birth and death is not in your hand. आपने उनकी सेवा करी. Yes, that is good enough. That is all you can do. See, if somebody is sick, कोई family member sick होता है, हम क्या कर सकते हैं? वरी और एंजाइटी छोड़ दीजिए. आप क्या कर सकते हैं? मेडिकल हेल्प दिलानी है उनको, मेडिकल हेल्प दिला दो. कोई अगर हेल्प चाहिए,
डॉक्टर
मेडिकल हेल्प दिला दिया. कोई नर्स रख ली हमने उनको प्रॉपर कंफर्ट के लिए. इससे ज्यादा हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं, राइट? वी कैन टेक केयर ऑफ देम. डोंट टेक देयर सफरिंग एंड मिजरी एंड मेक इट योर वरी एंड एंजाइटी. नो. और बेचारी वेरी फीलिंग भी नहीं देनी है. वो सब नेगेटिव है. उनको और परेशानी बढ़ाई उसकी बढ़ जाएगी. यू डू योर बेस्ट without getting attached. Correct? That is how you need to actually take care. So you are actually a caretaker. Don't become an owner of anything in your life. चाहे वो relationship हो, चाहे वो possessions हो. आप caretaker हो. आपका काम है उनकी देखभाल करना. अपनी पूरे काबिलियत के साथ, अपनी पूरी क्षमता के साथ, और अपने पूरे सेवा भाव से. Correct? उसके बाद that's it. And you don't even have your own home and all. आपका home आपका शरीर है सिर्फ. आप जब आए थे यहाँ पे, आपको एक शरीर मिला था जीने के लिए. आपने उस शरीर के लिए घर ढूंढ लिया है. यू आर ए केयर टेकर. वो छोड़ के जाना है. होटल में जाते हो तो हाउ डू यू स्टे इन द होटल? 4 दिन अगर जीने, 4 दिन की जिंदगी बोलते हैं ना, 4 दिन आप होटल में ठहरे हो, कैसे रहते हो? 4 दिन बहुत ख्याल रखते हो अपने रूम का, आपके सामान है सब कुछ. चौथे दिन आप पैकअप करके निकल जाते हो ना. वो होटल अब आपका नहीं है. Similarly, you have to consider your life. Then it will be easy. You are not an owner of anything. You are a caretaker of people in your life, of things in your life, of your possessions, of your wealth, everything. उस दिन के लिए आए हो 4 दिन. 4 दिन एंजॉय करो, पैकअप करो, निकल लो. That's it, life. Okay. So take that, and that should help you in getting over your suffering about what your mother suffered in the last lifetime. Last lifetime means now she is already into the another lifetime. Okay. All right. Let's acknowledge Simiji. Very good. And I hope it has opened up something for everybody.
So I would just I'd like to add, I know how hard Simi worked to look after her mother. I knew how much she was very good care that she was taking. And had she not done that, maybe then she could have had some element of guilt that again when she thinks about the past, she could have thought about it. But she's done a very good job of doing the seva, and single-handedly she was taking her mother to hospital, everything she was doing. And so I actually used to say, hats off to you, Simi, the way you're handling, and she would still be very composed. No, so agar nahi kiya hota, to maybe had I been in her place, I would have been suffering from guilt, which I think Simi ka hal nahi tha. Simi she did a very good job. Like jitna kar sakti thi apne, she's done much more than that. So
Very good.
maybe
Very good. Let's acknowledge Simi ji. So Simi ji, guilt तो बहुत दूर की बात है. आपको तो पुण्य मिला है. आपने बहुत पुण्य कमाया है. अब आपकी सेवा करने से बहुत पुण्य मिलता है. ठीक है? That will
गिल्ट तो
help
खैर
you.
नहीं है. That is a satisfaction that I was at नागपुर, तो 22-23 साल तक मैं यही बोलती थी कि मैं अपने पेरेंट्स की सेवा नहीं कर सकी बिकॉज दे वर एलिंग. तो वहां पे मेरे दिमाग में ये था कि see my 3 sisters are taking care of them and I am not able to do anything. वो भगवान ने ऐसी सिचुएशन में डाल दिया कि मैंने ही उनकी दोनों की सेवा की लास्ट में.
Good.
So I
That's
think
perfect.
maybe it's a way of God to, give
Whatever
me that
you
opportunity.
intend will happen, will manifest in your life, and you should be actually happy that you have done a lot of seva for her and you have earned a lot of good karma and punya. Yeah, and that's a wonderful achievement, I would say. Correct. Let's acknowledge Simi ji. Very good. Okay. Anybody else who would like to share anything?
Yes, myself.
Hanji Anirudh ji, boliye.
Yeah. No, you are rightly said, but I feel in this case, whatever we like or whatever we not like, we should take it as an event, part of life. So that is a part of life. So any event, anything which we may not agree, and which we may agree, we should take it as a part of life and handle it accordingly.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's acknowledge Anirudh ji. Very good. Good understanding. Yes. So now we have reached the scheduled time. So let us have some people share. What is the takeaway? So we have looked deep into the understanding of suffering. Yes. And just to do a quick summarization, pain हमेशा karmic event है. तो pain को आपको accept करना ही होगा. And suffering को minimize करना होगा. That is the only way to live life powerfully.
Right.
Yes. Having said that, let us have complete understanding of what is suffering and what is pain. ये distinction अगर clear हो जाएगा, it will be very, very easy for you to move away from the suffering and accept the karmic learning. And that is the only way to move forward in your spiritual journey. Yes. Okay. Anybody who has not shared anything, what is the takeaway? Advocate Mitra ji, if you're there, if you want to share something, please do that. Otherwise, Mani ji, anything you want to share? Jyoti ji, Rajiv, Aman K, Baljinder, क्या लेके जा रहे हैं सेशन से? Has anything opened up for you? कौन बोलना चाहेंगे?
Good evening, sir. I have
Yes.
a question.
Yes, Mani, go ahead.
So, sir, my question is like कि बहुत बार ऐसा देखा जाता है कि repeated patterns of suffering होती हैं generation wise, like like parents, and then like the first generation, second generation, third generation. Is it for something to ponder upon? Like they can, I mean, I'm sure like it is karmic, but then why is it happening generation wise? Maybe our relationships failure, maybe like children are getting the same issues. कुछ ऐसा भी होता है to think that the generation has to take a lesson from.
Okay, so you have asked a tough question. So let me answer it this way. When we talk of karma, there are 3 aspects of karma. One is past lives karma. We all know that. हम कई जन्मों से सफर करते हुए आ रहे हैं, है ना? तो एक past lives का कर्मा होता है. एक present life का कर्मा है जो हम अभी इस जन्म में कर रहे हैं, present life karma. And one is genetic karma. Genetic karma is coming from your ancestral line. So you must have heard during the Shraddh days we do ancestral healing. Ancestral healing. मैं पिछले 4 साल से कर रहा हूँ ये ancestral healing.
Right.
जो
Yes, sir.
है ना, तो ये जो होता है, दिस इज बेसिकली द इमोशनल ट्रॉमा विच इज पास्ड ऑन फ्रॉम जनरेशन टू जनरेशन टू जनरेशन. That means coming down, and that is passed on from great grandparents to your parents, grandparents, then to your parents, and then to you, and then to further down. So somebody has to take this initiative to heal the ancestral karma. अगर अभी तक नहीं किया हुआ है तो कई बार उसको पंडित जी वगैरह से चेक कराओगे तो बोलेंगे कि फैमिली कर्स चल रहा है ना. तो एक ये एस्पेक्ट है जो बिल्कुल सही है, जो एंसेस्ट्रल हीलिंग से हम हील करते हैं. तो इमोशनल ट्रॉमा ऑफ द generations of 7 generations up, we say that, whether it is paternal or maternal. तो दोनों तरफ से जो इमोशनल ट्रॉमा या इमोशनल पेन चला आ रहा है, because there are many cases in many families जहाँ पे फैमिली कर्स होता है. somebody has committed suicide, somebody has been murdered, right? तो अगर 200-300 साल पीछे जाएंगे अपने एंसेस्ट्रल लाइन में तो ये सब चीजें हुई होंगी. तो उन सब का ट्रॉमा चलता आ रहा है जो आपके जीन्स में आ जाता है और जेनेटिक कर्मा के थ्रू आपकी लाइफ को कंट्रोल करता है. तो इसकी हीलिंग जरूरी होती है. तो we do that healing. So if you have any specific concerns on that, we can definitely talk one-to-one on that. But that is a specific, you can say is a specific genetic karma which takes care of this ancestral healing. Rest, if you're talking of some diseases, हाँ, तो कई लोग मेरे को बोलते हैं कि our diabetes runs in the family, blood pressure runs in the family, heart attack runs in the family. So let me tell you, diseases will never run in the family. Why they are suffering from these diseases is nobody
Yes,
runs in their family.
Yes, very true.
कोई फिजिकल एक्टिविटी नहीं कर रहा है, सब काउच पोटैटो बन के बैठे हुए हैं. इस वजह से डिजीजेस उनके चलते आ रहे हैं और वो बिलीफ सिस्टम बन गया है. पापा हार्ट अटैक से मरे थे, उनके पापा हार्ट अटैक से मरे थे, मैं अभी हार्ट अटैक से मरूंगा. वो बिलीफ सिस्टम उनको हार्ट अटैक देगा ही देगा. गेट माय पॉइंट? सो रिमूव ऑल द डिसएम्पावरिंग बिलीफ सिस्टम. सुबह सुबह उठो, 5 बजे का अलार्म लगाओ, उठो, जॉगिंग करो, योगा करो, प्राणायाम करो, मेडिटेशन करो, सारी बीमारियां रिवर्स हो जाएंगी. दैट इज ए डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट. ओके, बट हैविंग सेड दैट, genetic karma is a reality and you need to do ancestral healing for that. So I think that answers your question. Maniji, is that okay?
Yes, sir. Majorly. I'll have a one-on-one with you maybe
Yes,
anytime
sure.
whenever you're comfortable. Yeah.
Sure, you can do
Thank
that.
you, sir. Thank you.
All right, let's acknowledge Maniji. That was a tough question and a detailed answer. Okay, anybody else who wants to share what are you taking away from the session? Parveen ji, anything that you want to share? What are you taking away? Or people who are live in the window, anything that you want to share? What are you taking away?
Can I share, Shashi ji?
Yes, Parveen ji, go ahead.
My takeaway, matlab ki, it's so clear now that with love, joy, and peace, I can clear my karma with my daughter-in-law now. I'm feeling I have a very good way now. जो हुआ है बहुत ही, it was not, it was now while talking in the session I realized that it was karmic, and so I can clear it before it's too late. So I'm going to clear it with love, peace, and joy.
Wonderful, wonderful, Parveen ji. That's a very good takeaway if you're taken away that. So wish you all the best in restoring integrity and joy in your relationships. Yes, perfect. Anybody else? What are you taking away? क्या लेके जा रहे हैं? एक लाइन में फटाफट कौन बोलेंगे? Yes, Parina ji, go ahead.
शशि जी, वही पिछली बार का जो मैजिक इक्वेशन था वही दूसरी तरीके से रीवर्ड होके आज रीइंफोर्स हुआ है दैट मेजरली द सफरिंग डिपेंड्स अपॉन योर ओन रिएक्शन. आउटसाइड वर्ल्ड से ट्रिगर आता है बट अगर अंदर जो है उसी पे ही डिपेंड करता है दैट हाउ द सफरिंग इज गोइंग टू पैन आउट. So it's in the other words, it's a reinforcement, but that remains the same, that it's your own reaction, that how if you can take it to respond and then how you respond to it, that also matters. So if you can, go step by step and introspect that way, so then you can reduce your suffering. So that would be a takeaway for me.
Very good, Parina ji, wonderful. Let's acknowledge Parina ji, and you gave me another definition. So resistance के साथ मैं अगली बार reaction भी बोल दूंगा. हाँ? तो लेवल 2 का भी फॉर्मूला बना दिया आपने. थैंक यू. ओके, वेरी गुड. Anybody else who wants to share? Otherwise we are already 9 minutes over time. So I will close the session. Last and final call. Anybody who wants to share? क्या लेके जा रहे हैं session से? Okay, so we have reached the end of the session. Thank you very much for your participation. Enjoy a great day. Enjoy a great week. Watch the recording again. And we meet again next week with a lot more of Buddha's teaching. Till then, Aham Brahmasmi. Enjoy. Take care. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
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 night.
night.
Bye-bye.